Hello boys, welcome back to another interesting session of video tutorials, and this session is meant for class 11th biology students, and this is for 28th December 2020. As we all know that we are into the revision mode, we are gearing ourselves for the annual examination, and as part of it we have completed our regular syllabus, and now we are having a revision of each chapter. In the revision, we are just highlighting the important concepts with clear-cut notes. Hence, as I have been asking you, keep a separate notes and write whatever the PPT that I am giving to you, so that at the time of examination, it will be easy for you to revise fast the entire chapter. And if you remember and recollect from your memory, we were talking about the structure of heart, human heart. What are the various parts that are present in human heart, and then we were also talking about the double circulation and other things. Now in this session we are going to talk about cardiac cycle. What is cardiac cycle? The cardiac cycle consists of one heartbeat or one cycle of contraction and relaxation of the cardiac muscle. The duration of cardiac cycle is, you must always remember this, 0.8 seconds. Remember, 0.8 seconds. The successive stages of the cardiac cycle are, how it goes on. First one, atrial systole. This is one. Atrial systole. This is number one. The atria means auricles. Okay, auricles contract due to wave of contraction stimulated by SA node. Remember we said pacemaker? SA node. The blood is forced into ventricles as the bicuspid and tricuspid valves open. So this is the first one, auricular systole or atrial systole. Second, this is followed by ventricular systole. The ventricles begin to contract due to a wave of contraction stimulated by AV node. There in auricles it is SA node. In ventricles, this is second, ventricular systole, and this is AV node. Whereas in atrial it is SA node, sinoauricular. This is auriculoventricular node, AV node. The bicuspid and tricuspid valves close immediately, producing part of the first heart sound, lub. When the ventricles complete their contraction, the blood flows into pulmonary trunk and aorta as the semilunar valves open up. Next, ventricular diastole. Third one is ventricular diastole. The ventricles relax and semilunar valves are closed. This causes the second heart sound, dub. So that's why we hear lub dub, lub dub. The tricuspid and bicuspid valves open again when the pressure in the ventricles falls and blood flows from the auricles into ventricles. So the volume of blood pumped by each ventricle per minute is called cardiac output. It is determined by multiplying the heart rate with the volume of blood ejected by each ventricle during each beat, which is called stroke volume. Normally cardiac output, we write heart rate. I'll be writing here, cardiac output is equal to heart rate into multiplied by stroke volume, and we know that this heart rate is in all of us 72 times per minute, and the stroke volume is 0.08 liters per beat. So that comes to 5.5 liters per minute. This is the cardiac output. So our heart is so great that per minute 5.5 liters will be the output. And then there's something related to this closely, that's called blood pressure, BP we say, or hypertension. Blood pressure is the pressure against the walls of the blood vessels produced by the discharge of blood into them by contractions of the left ventricle. The blood pressure is high in the arteries, gradually drops in the arterioles and capillaries, and becomes very low in the veins. It is measured from brachial artery by an instrument called sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer. The blood pressure is expressed as BP, and all of you know our BP should be ideally 120 by 80 mmHg mercury. But of course, nowadays American doctors and Britishers are saying that this can be up to 140 also. So we say systolic and diastolic pressure. Now they are saying it can be 140 to 90. This is the latest correction that is being added by the American doctors and the British. But we in India, our Indian doctors stick on to this 120 by 80. Of course, science is a subject where research continuously takes place, and things will not be static in science. Things move on. So we need to move on with the latest research in the science. So these are the various things that we talk in cardiac cycle. Again, to begin with, all four chambers are relaxed, and this state is called joint diastole. Diastole relaxation. How to remember? Relaxation diastole. RD, Republic Day. Remember? Relaxation diastole. As the bicuspid and tricuspid valves are open, blood from pulmonary vein, remember pulmonary, pulmos, lungs, pulmonary vein and vena cava flows to left and right ventricles respectively. Semilunar valves are closed at this stage. SA node generates action potential that contracts both auricles. So contraction of auricles is atrial systole. When diastole is relaxation, systole is contraction. CS, computer science, contraction, systole. The action potential passes to AV node, and bundle of His transmit it to the ventricular musculature to cause ventricular systole. At the same time, auricle undergoes relaxation, diastole, to close the bicuspid and tricuspid valves. Semilunar valves open into circulatory system that relax the ventricle and close the valves to prevent backflow of blood. Just yesterday I said there is no backflow of blood in our human heart. The structure and arrangement is such that there won't be any backflow. As the pressure inside ventricles decreases, the bicuspid and tricuspid valves open to repeat the process of cardiac cycle. During each cardiac cycle, two sounds are produced. The first sound, lub, is due to closure of bicuspid and tricuspid valve, and second heart sound, dub, is due to closure of semilunar valves. That's why we hear lub dub sound. I think ECG I will take up in the next class, and I will just go with the double circulation now. What is double circulation? 2 times circulation. And if you recollect from your memory, I said one is systemic circulation and another is pulmonary circulation. Systemic circulation, it is from heart to different parts of the body. So I say target tissue or target area. So this is the systemic circulation. This is at the posterior side as well as anterior side. Again here target areas, head, shoulder, face, all this. This is systemic. And pulmonary, of course, heart to lungs. Okay, heart to lungs and lungs to heart back. So this is second one. That's why double circulation. Flow of same blood twice through the heart, once in oxygenated form, that is the oxyhemoglobin containing blood that comes from lungs, and other deoxygenated. From tissues, carbon dioxide is formed. So the hemoglobin combines with carbon dioxide, carboxyhemoglobin is formed. So that blood is deoxygenated blood. It's called double circulation. It includes systemic and pulmonary circulation. Systemic circulation includes flow of oxygenated blood from left ventricle. Okay, we have got here the flow of this left ventricle, LV, left ventricle, to all parts of the body, and deoxygenated blood from various body parts to right auricle. Look at here, right auricle. All systematic circulation starts from aorta and ends at superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. So this is vena cavas, superior and inferior vena cava. Are coronary sinus to right auricle. The systemic circulation provides oxygen, nutrients and other substances like hormones to the tissues, and takes CO2 and other harmful substances, particularly nitrogenous substances like urea, uric acid, all that will be taken away for the removal. So this is how the systemic circulation takes place. That is, from left ventricle, you can see here, pure blood is circulated by aorta, biggest artery I said in my previous session, and that goes to different parts of the body, both anterior as well as posterior. And once it reaches the body parts, there cellular respiration takes place. Oxygen is utilized for the oxidation of glucose, and as a byproduct of oxidation of glucose, carbon dioxide is formed. That carbon dioxide will be taken by the vena cavas from posterior as well as anterior, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So that impure blood comes back to right auricle. So from right auricle to right ventricle, from right ventricle it goes to pulmonary artery to lungs, where carbon dioxide is given off, oxygen is taken in, and that becomes pure blood, and that enters into pulmonary vein to left auricle, and finally left ventricle. So this is how the pulmonary circulation also takes place. The flow of deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs and return of oxygenated blood from lung to the left auricle is called pulmonary circulation. Two pulmonary veins from each lung transport the oxygenated blood to the left auricle. Double circulation prevents mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Regulation of cardiac activity. How to regulate this? Normal activities of heart are regulated by nodal tissues, that is SA node and AV node, sinoauricular and atrioventricular. So the heartbeat is myogenic because it is controlled by two. A special neural center in medulla oblongata of our brain moderates the cardiac function by ANS, autonomous nervous system. Sympathetic nerve can increase the rate of heartbeat, and parasympathetic nerve of ANS decrease the rate of heartbeat. That's how the heartbeat is maintained. Adrenal medullary hormone also increases cardiac output. So our heart is in turn controlled by our brain as well as hormones. In our next session, we will talk about the ECG and disorders related to circulatory system. Until then, keep on practicing, draw beautiful diagrams.